Hello, users. Hi. Welcome to Above It All, and I made a Super Tuesday prediction video right before Amy Klobuchar dropped out, and also before Pete endorsed Biden. And then also Amy endorsed Biden as well. So I figured I would make a quick follow-up amendment video. Go watch the first one if you want. I'm just going to do some quick follow-up points here. And then we'll get to it. So, California, my prediction, now that, again, Buttigieg and Klobuchar have dropped out and endorsed Biden, Biden is 1,000% going to get above 15%. I think Bernie is probably going to win. I mean, I think it's a 85% chance. Like, it's one of those things where if you directly add Buttigieg and Klobuchar's numbers in these polls, Biden does give Bernie a run for his money, but it's also one of those things where all those supporters won't switch over. You know, like, it's not like a guarantee that a Klobuchar supporter will, like, you know, it's possible that there's a segment of those people out there that will go like, oh, that's weird. Fuck all these people. I don't like sexual predators like Joe Biden. I'm going to vote for Bernie. That's totally a response I can see from someone who, you know, just doesn't pay attention to politics that much and just likes Amy Klobuchar because she's a woman. And also, a lot of people have already early voted. Like, I've got my little sticker right here. I've already early voted. A lot of people have already voted. So that's going to affect things as well, because a lot of this will be before South Carolina. A lot of this will be before these dropouts and so forth. So I think Super Tuesday's race is going to change, but it's not going to change by too much. It's not going to be like the Jim Clyburn thing in South Carolina that completely reshaped the race. I don't think it's going to be like that. But I'll just go over this little page. I didn't see this page before, the Super Tuesday RCP averages, because this website is honestly very, very, very poorly formatted, I think. But that's just my opinion. So I think Bernie is going to win California. I think he's going to get the lion's share of delegates, so to speak. Warren not dropping out and endorsing Bernie, of course, is terrible. She's a centrist cocksucker. She's a scumbag. I've already made like 38 Warren videos about how much I hate her, so go watch those. Texas. Texas, honestly, I'm a little more worried about. With just Buttigieg dropping out, Texas was definitely worrisome. With just with both Klobuchar and Buttigieg, it could be enough. The race has shaken up a little bit, but again, the early voting, and then of course Texas. You know, there's so many factors here. I think if Bernie wins both California and Texas, I think that's great. I think that definitely gives him a very solid position. North Carolina, some news just came out where a bunch of people in North Carolina just endorsed Bernie Sanders, like about 50 people throughout the state. So that's super important. But at the same time, it's North Carolina. And North Carolina is very mixed. There's lots of like super southern, like, oh, gotta go, like those kind of people, you know. And then there's also lots of like minority populations. There's lots of like native populations. There's lots of like, you know, these pockets of like just different kinds of people. So it's kind of hard to tell what North Carolina is going to be like. If Bernie wins all three of these, like I said in the other video, then I'm not too worried. It's one of those things where I'm going to feel a lot better. But again, it's kind of nerve-wracking, honestly. The establishment is making the moves. They're making these fucking moves now to try to stop Bernie, and it's just, you know, you got to be energized, you got to be focused, but at the same time, it is definitely nerve-wracking. So I think if I were to predict, I think he's going to win California and Texas. Old Bernie here. Woo! Reminder, I got like fucking 30 of these, so if anyone wants one, come to my house and I'll give you one. If not, go to the campaign store and buy them, $5 a pop. I think Bernie has a very, very, very good chance of winning North Carolina, but I think it's good. For me, I think it's just too close to really say he's going to win it. If he does win all three, that's huge. And then we have Virginia. Virginia, I think Bernie is in good spots with. Again, there's lots of like resistance, like, cringe lords in the northern parts of Virginia near DC. But there's also lots of like pockets of these like diverse populations, like with North Carolina. And then they also have got like, they've been trending blue anyway. People there are getting definitely more Democratic, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to break that down if more Democratic will translate for Biden or for Bernie. Who knows? Sanders definitely is leading in the recent poll, but it's one of those things where there's just not enough polling here to really just know. I think Data for Progress is planning on releasing more Super Tuesday polls, so I'll probably do another video if they do that tonight, or in the morning or something, and maybe readjust my positioning here. But I like to be on record, telling you how I think, and this is usually polling and then past performances are what lead me to believe the things I believe. And yeah, this fucking website is so poorly formatted. So we have Massachusetts. Like this little header thing just stops for some reason. Sanders, I think I'm going to call him the winner of Massachusetts. It, however, is totally possible that the Klobuchar dropout will consolidate around Warren. Just because, like, the whole, woman president thing. But it's also just super hard to tell. It's super hard to tell. I do think Sanders is going to win, though. I really do think he's going to win Massachusetts. But if... I hate it, but I hate Warren so much. But I do think Sanders is going to win this one. If Warren wins Massachusetts, that's probably going to be the context for her to just stay in the race indefinitely, which is so bad. I hope she loses, just so it becomes more of a forceful chant for her to drop out. You know what I mean? That's my opinion on that one. So then you've got Minnesota, which Amy dropping out makes basically Minnesota wide open. As you can see, Biden's got like 8 points here. So I think a lot of Amy's support will go to Biden, but I also don't think all of it's going to go to Biden. So earlier today, I was a little skeptical. Minnesota could go either way. But I do think Sanders is going to win Minnesota. I think that, especially given the proximity, like Super Tuesday's tomorrow, I don't think that enough people are going to get these memos, and I think that Sanders is going to win Minnesota. So that's my opinion there. Colorado, I think this is an easy one. I think Sanders is going to win Colorado. Biden really, honestly, Sanders is going to win Colorado. I think that's just a given. Oklahoma, I don't know much about Oklahoma. They haven't, again, these polls are super all over the place and super old. It's just hard to tell. I think Bernard has a decent chance of winning Oklahoma, just because, again, it's so underpolled, and the polls that are here sample 172 likely voters. I mean, it's super hard. There's not much info here, so I'm going to say Bernard has a chance here, but with consolidation and with Bloomberg's ad spending, either Biden or Bloomberg could definitely inch ahead. I think worst case scenario, Bernie gets third place here. That would be bad. If Bernie can at least get second, though, especially if Biden gets third or something like that. If Biden gets third here or something, that's good news. Basically, as many states where Bloomberg can top Biden, that's going to be better. If Bloomberg consistently gets below Biden, that's going to be bad, because it might have Bloomberg realize that he needs to drop out. And right now, he's kind of digging his heels in. So if Bloomberg can get ahead of Biden, or even just win one state barely, I think that would be decent, because I definitely do not want Bloomberg to drop out right now. If Bloomberg drops out and consolidates behind Biden, that is bad. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I also think a lot of Bloomberg support would go to Bernie. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I do think having Bloomberg and Biden kind of still at each other, I think that would create a decent dynamic, especially if Warren's going to continue to be a narcissist. Arkansas, also known as Arkansas, I think Biden... this poll, again, this is a month old. The sample size isn't that good. It's one of those things where it's hard to tell. I think Bernie could win it. I think also Biden or Bloomberg could win it based on this poll. Again, it's super, super duper hard to tell. If you just consolidate Buttigieg's and Amy Klobuchar's support behind Biden, I think Biden could run away with it. But at the same time, this is the only info we got according to RCP. So, and I haven't seen anything else online. So, who knows? This is one that's just hard to tell. Utah. I think Bernard is definitely going to win Utah. It's super hard to tell. Again, just because the polls are kind of all over the place, especially with the consolidation and the dropping out. So, but I do think Bernie has a very good chance to win. To win Utah, I do think that is going to be a stronghold for him. And then we have Maine. I think Bernie's going to win Maine. It's another one where Biden, if all the consolidation happens and Buttigieg and Biden and Klobuchar, if the poll numbers actually add up all the way, it could be bad news. But it's just one of those things where there's just not enough time for that message to get out there. And it's just like, I think a lot of the people will just go for Biden or for Bernie. They might, because a lot of people like Bernie, but they like, oh, Buttigieg is young, or oh, Amy is a woman or something. You know what I mean? They don't really care about the endorsements, at least to my understanding. So I think Maine is definitely likely to go for Sanders, very likely. Vermont, I mean, like, come on, like, do we need to talk about Vermont? I don't think so. But this is my updated Super Tuesday forecast, a little bit more in depth. I covered all the states. And go watch the previous one if you want to just, hear me think, with Klobuchar being factored in. I'm definitely nervous. I can't deny it. I'm definitely nervous. The next 24 to 48 hours are going to be, I'm going to go gray. I swear to God, I'm going to go gray. But if Bernie can get a good lead, if Bernie can say, nab like 700 to 800 delegates out of Super Tuesday, that in my opinion will be a win. As long as Bernie is in first place delegate-wise and popular vote-wise, I do think the odds going forward for Bernie are really good. I think the chances of Bernie getting a plurality, and my webcam fell, I think the chances of Bernie getting a plurality and not a majority are even higher now that there's been some centrist consolidation. But it's still one of those things where if Bernie gets that momentum from a very strong Super Tuesday showing, he definitely still can get over 1991. So that's my analysis. When Data for Progress puts their polls out, I will definitely be making a video about that either tonight, depending on how late they are, or tomorrow morning. I did hear that they are putting them out today at some point, so that's all I know. But yeah, again, if I guess early voting is kind of not really possible anymore for a lot of these states, but if you can vote, just vote as soon as possible. Please vote for Bernie. Oh, I really just, it's just one of those things. I don't want to do the whole speech again, but this election is so important. 68,000 people die every year because of lack of health insurance. The numbers are increasing now under Trump. And it's like the pain and the suffering that causes. The doggy interrupting my somber ending, but the pain and the suffering that causes is just, it's not quantifiable. So do the right thing. And hop on the Bernard dialer, hop on the texter, get everything you can, and it's crunch time. So let's win this thing.